The quiet ones are the ones you should watch. But Chris Watts wasn't just quiet. He was invisible. A smile that seemed harmless, a voice barely above a whisper, a father holding his daughters with the same arms that would later end their lives. This is the story that doesn't begin with murder. It begins with a boy who never learned how to scream. Welcome to Dark Milk and Lullabies. Chris grew up in Spring Lake, North Carolina, in a small town. It's quiet homes, a place where boys mowed lawns, played football, and kept their feelings tucked behind their smiles. He was soft-spoken, polite, a little awkward. He was the kind of boy teachers said was sweet, not necessarily smart or funny, just agreeable. The kind of boy who never caused a scene, he never yelled, not even when maybe he should have. Now, if we look at his parents, his mother, Cindy Watts, was the sun of that household. Everything rotated around her. Her rules, her emotions, her presence. Cindy had a strong will and sharper words, and it was clear early on that she ran that show. His father, Ronnie, he was kind, but he was passive, and he's the type of man who avoided conflict, who sat back during arguments and let Cindy take control. And Chris, he watched, he learned. He learned that peace was better than honesty, that being liked was more important than being real, and that silence could be a survival tactic. Some people grow up to challenge their parents. Talk back. Chris grew up to copy them, or worse, suppress the resentment they sparked. He actually idolized his father's calm, but hated how weak he seemed in the face of conflict, because he actually feared his mother's wrath. And he learned to mimic her ability to dominate a narrative through manipulation, through guilt, eventually through erasure. And how do we know this? Well, in his confession tapes and prison confession tape interviews, Chris repeatedly spoke about being a people pleaser. He hated disappointing other people. He described how he let people push him around his whole life and how he buried emotions to avoid confrontation.
I wanted my parents to be involved, since the whole wedding thing, and then
the ice cream thing.
Because Shanann was there, and I guess they were all sitting. One was couch, it was kind of like a U, and my niece went into the kitchen, and she knew where the ice cream was. Right there.
So it's not like your mom gave it to her? Like she got her own?
Yeah, she went in the freezer, got it, went out, and stopped beside Cece and started eating. But it's just a matter of Cece could go right like that. Now, I don't know what would happen if she just got it on her hand. Right. But I know on the prick test, on the back, it's like a welt.
So were they staying there at your parents' house during that time?
Yeah, it was. So they would go from from Sandy and Frank's house for a few days or 5 days, and then go to my mom and dad's house.
Even in his letters from prison, he refers to himself as a quiet person who just wanted peace, no drama. But silence doesn't mean peace. Sometimes it's just rage with the volume turned down. Family friends noted how he was never the decision maker in the household, neither in his childhood nor his marriage. And in the chilling body cam footage, even as police search his home, Chris tries to control the narrative with a soft smile and half-truths, just like his mother often did when the story needed to look prettier than the truth. Have a look at this body cam footage and you decide. His household didn't teach emotional intimacy, it taught performance. Chris found solace in cars He liked them because you could fix them, they're easy to fix. Problems had clear solutions. People, not so much. And so he grew up into a man who just smiled to survive. He wasn't a monster. Not yet. Then came Shanann. Shanann was fire, determined, diagnosed with lupus in her 20s. She refused to be a victim. She bought a house all by herself. She started working for Thrive, an MLM wellness company, and built a social media empire of curated perfection. She was pretty much everything Chris wasn't. She was loud, she was bold, she was driven, and she fell hard for him. Her words, not ours. Chris found himself really attracted to more dominant women, which makes sense. And Shanann was just that. Have a listen to how Chris talks about Shanann. Shanann said he was the best thing that had ever happened to me. She often said things like this on social media. They married in 2012, 2 girls, Bella and Celeste. She posted their lives like scrapbooks of joy, but behind the Facebook filters, things were off, more withdrawn. Her love started to look like control, and his silence started to curdle. That Shanann made all the decisions, from financing to parenting to what car he drove. He didn't say this with anger. He said it with kind of like passive emptiness, like it happened to him and he had no say in it. It just happened, and that's how it was. And I guess that's what's chilling, because not that he resisted her, but that he didn't. He just placated her. He just like almost waited. Shanann was a firecracker. She was the top performer in the MLM she was in. And Chris said that in an interview that Shanann was so good at her job that she could basically sell the clothes that you're wearing back to you. And he's heard chuckling with detectives about this. Often trying to push Chris, she was trying to make Chris do more in his MLM business, but Chris hated selling and he hated talking to people, and he preferred his operator position with the oil company. So that's what he did. And Shanann loved being a mother to her 2 girls, and, she fiercely protected them. By accidental miracle, Shanann and Chris fell pregnant once more in and around April of May 2018. Shanann was over the moon. Chris, not so much. Nevertheless, Shanann wanted this baby, and when she discovered it would be a boy, her heart almost burst. A son, right? A son for her and for Chris. Maybe this is what he needs, a son to help him come out of his shell once and for all. Watch Shanann's video talking about Nico and the girls. It's absolutely so beautiful.
Guess what, girls? Mommy has a baby in her belly. Are you guys excited? Yeah? Are you really excited? Oh my goodness. Come give me hugs. Oh. I love you. I got the baby a hug. You want to give the baby a hug? I love you, Bella. You're so sweet. Give me a kiss. Mommy. Yes, baby. Hey, Bella, how many babies do I have in my belly? 5. Whoa. That's a lot of babies. You better grow up really quickly. I need help. It's hard to talk. It's hard to talk. You didn't kiss the baby? No. Do you kiss the baby in the morning and at night? Before bed? I think it right now. You're so funny. Oh, I'm going to kiss it in your bed. My bed. In your bed. Want I tuck you in? Yeah. Okay. I'll sleep in your bed. Oh, I know. But you sleep in your bed like a big girl. I want to sleep in your bed.
means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome.
Shanann was strong. She was strong-willed, determined, and she ran that house. And Chris was so chill, he just didn't complain. In fact, he was relieved that he could take a back seat because Shanann was quick and smart and not much got past her. So when Chris began to withdraw from her in a way that he never had, Shanann knew that there was something or someone else in the picture. And that's something that's hard to cope with as a female. I don't know from a man's point of view, but enter Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker, spiritual, private. She liked crystals and control. They met on June 1st, 2018, and their affair soon started after that. Their first conversations were just, Nicole was messing up with the gas meters and Chris was being the hero and helping her fix them and things like that. They would run into each other in the office, a few times. Chris usually worked in the field, but often when he went in there, she was there and they would strike up a conversation. And one time Nicole asked about something that his friend was growing and he showed a photo to her which had his daughters pop up on the screen. Nicole asked about them. Chris said, "Oh yeah, they're my girls." He says that he didn't mention his wife, although her photo was on his screen as well, but he didn't wear his wedding ring because he'd lost so much weight over the last 12 months and it kept falling off, and he actually lost it once in the snow. So he just stopped wearing it and said he'd get it resized. But he never did, obviously. So their relationship bloomed really quickly. Texts, hotel rooms, deleted messages, obviously. Chris claimed that he loved her, and Nicole admitted that she loved him, but I get the feeling that it was more one-sided on Chris's behalf, because he says in an interview, and watch this confessional, where he says that she was going on Tinder dates while they were seeing each other in that month. And she, the weird thing was Nicole searched for things on her computer like how to start a new life with someone, and then she searched up Amber Frey, the mistress of Scott Peterson. Let that sink in. I don't think Nicole was as into Chris as I said, but him watching her go on these Tinder dates while he's getting up and getting dressed and going home after they've spent the night together maybe sparked something in him to push this relationship further. And she seemed to be outraged that he would leave his wife for her, let alone kill her. Chris said Nicole made him feel different, like a different person, free himself. He'd lost weight, he glowed, he texted her for hours. She was on his mind. He was already living a new life, one without his family. He described a disturbing detachment. The family he built began to feel like an obligation, and Nicole was a reset, like a blank slate. And Chris wanted to erase everything that complicated it. We'll get into that soon and talk about Chris's behavior later and who he really is, but she was complicit. Was she involved? We might never know. Was she just a side character in the shadows? Was she actively trying to rewrite the narrative? Like, after the murders, Nicole did more than give statements. Into the reports, the investigators repeatedly had concerns about her inconsistencies, and her Google searches came to light. Not just Amber Frey, but things like, do people hate Amber Frey? Can police trace deleted messages? And how long phone records are stored for? She even Googled if mistresses can get paid for interviews. This is before the murders. So she claimed she didn't know Chris was still with Shanann, yet she deleted text messages and tried to erase her digital footprint before coming forward. And while she cooperated with police, many people found her demeanor to be curated, let's just say. And searched wedding dresses, apartments, baby names. And let's not forget she Googled how to prepare for a new life with someone. before the murders. Now, was she scared, guilty, or just incredibly naive? I mean, that's still being debated. I mean, Nicole reportedly told police she didn't want anything to do with the aftermath. She changed her name. She actually has disappeared, but her fingerprints remain on the glass. They're smudged, but they're there.
If you don't want to talk anymore, just tell me I want to leave. And I'm kind of in the way of the door, but you're not being interrogated as a criminal suspect. We're here to understand your relationship with Chris and what you know about Chris and his family, and events relating to Chris Watts. And do you know him as Chris or Christopher? Okay. So the phone number that you reached him on, can you tell me what that number was?
I think I deleted that out of my phone too. I just cut him out of my life. It's a 910 number. You guys have it.
We gave it to Mark yesterday. Yeah. I probably have it, but just in case.
I don't have it.
If I recited it to you, would you know it?
Just the first three numbers.
But you know it as a 910 number?
Yes, that's what I do know. I mean,
that's North Carolina or something. North Carolina. Okay. So let's just start with a timeline of your getting to know Chris, how you guys met, where you met, all those things. Let's just run. And I'm not going to ask you specific questions unless I think it's necessary. I'll let you just tell me your story. I think it's a little bit easier that way. So I just want to know how you met him, where you met him, how long you guys were dating, and those kind of things initially.
Okay. I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June. It might have been May. I was just talking at work. It was pretty casual. And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either. And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And started telling me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was right around Father's Day too. So whatever that is in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not good with holidays.
He told me he had kids, and then it was Father's Day shortly after that. So that's what I do now. And I was like, I know, I thought it was cute. And then he's telling me about him. He's pretty excited about him. And then he mentioned that he did have a significant other. And then he told me that those 2 were in the process of a separation.
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick. But to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know.
So in May and June, first of all, where do you work?
I work at Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. I'm contracted to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation.
Okay, and you work out of an office setting where?
In Flatville, Colorado.
Okay. And Chris also works out of that location, per se?
Yes. He's in the field, but he comes into the office with his team.
So you work, what is your job responsibility?
I do health, safety, and environment.
Okay, so you work in the office and you take care of health safety for Anadarko is an oil and gas company, right?
Yes.
So you're doing health safety in the office and Chris works in the field.
Yes.
As what kind of job does he do?
He's an operator, so I don't know all of his daily duties, but he's a field operator, so he works with the oil wells.
So he goes out and does work on those, whatever.
Yes.
That work might be, but he comes into the office frequent.
In the mornings, his team meets in the mornings. They're not all in there every day. Some days, some of them are in there. Some days, other ones are in there. But in the mornings, typically from 6:15 to probably 7, somewhere around there.
And is that where you met Chris?
Yes.
Okay. So can you just take us through kind of a little bit of the early part of how he courted you or you courted him? I don't know which one happened. How you guys got to know each other?
I guess we just started talking. He actually, so part of my job is to manage the gas monitors that we have. So Anadarko requires all of their field personnel to carry like gas monitor sensors for toxic gases, and it's my job to control the inventory, any issues, anything like that. And we were having some pretty serious like equipment issues, and we had numerous amounts of people coming in my office one day, and he happened to be one of them. And I'd seen him before, like they meet in the lunchroom, and that's where I go put my lunch in the fridge. So I'd seen him, but I didn't ever like talk to him. So that day we just started talking, and then every time I saw him in the hallway after that, it was always hit or miss. Like it wasn't an everyday thing. It was just when I saw him, we just started talking, and we just kind of had a lot in common and just hit it off. So we'd always have, you know, pretty good conversations. And then I don't know, one day he told me that he had kids and started talking about his kids, and then mentioned, yes, that I have a wife, but we're getting separated. Okay. And then,
Who do you think that was?
when he said all that.
So specifically when he told you he was getting separated from his wife, was that within the first couple of weeks that you knew him, or was that later on? You said you met him around May or June.
Yeah, it was still in June.
Okay.
It would have been before Father's Day.
So had you guys ever gone out on any kind of
No.
date at that time? You just
No.
were conversing at work?
Yeah, that's all it was. And then, I don't know, we started hanging out. We hung out. We went to a park. Hung out at a park.
Let's go back real quick. So why did he tell you that he was getting a divorce? Did he ask you out at that time?
No, he didn't. I think he was probably interested in me. And so, he talked to me a couple times via his work phone, and I was like, no. Like, it was still very, like, friendly conversation. But then when I realized, like, this man is interested in me, I'm interested in him, this is personal, so we got away from the Anadarko thing, because I really don't want those guys affiliated with any of this. And
So you have a work phone that is specifically...
no, I have one phone that I do both on. He has two phones.
Okay, so he had your phone, the 720-656.
That's the only number that I roll with all the time.
Okay.
So he has two phones.
All right. One of those owned by Anadarko and
Yes,
one
sir.
personal.
Yes, sir.
Do you know what his Anadarko phone number was?
It's been so long, and I mean, I'm sure I could like look it up, but I tried to look it up for those guys yesterday, and I couldn't find it.
Okay. You can find it, that's okay. Just wondering if you knew it.
But at that point, we just like took it to his phone because I just felt it was like better that way. And we just continued to talk, and then
Let me go back to the park. Where's the park?
it's like down the street from my house. It's called Eastlake Number 3.
Your house
Yes.
in Northglenn?
Yes.
And that was in the June time frame.
Yeah, or like the beginning of July. It was like right around my birthday. It's like so sometime at the very end of June or the beginning of July.
Okay. And that's the first meeting you had outside of work?
Yeah.
The basic conversation for a first date?
I mean, we kept it pretty simple, I guess, you know. I don't even remember everything we talked about. We
Sure.
were there for a few hours.
Understand so if I ask about conversation, what I'm looking for, was he talking about his family during any of these meetings? Those are the kind of, I understand, whatever you guys were talking about, relationship, your life, your interests, those things, we don't need to know that. What I'm interested in is knowing is when he brings up his children, when he brings up his wife, when he brings up financial information, when he brings up his home, when he brings up anything that may have been, and it's been a few days, so you've had a chance to reflect on some articles that you may have read, and you know, unfortunately, that you're in a situation where somebody has been murdered. And that information, when you look backwards in your memory with the conversations with Chris, anything that he might have said that would be relative to that, and I'm not just, even if one day he was mad and he said, I want to do this or do that, anything like that. If he ever made any kind of statements that you were like, whoa, that was weird, or why would he say that, or why did he mention that? Do you understand what I'm
No, I
looking for?
completely understand. I just feel like some of this happened so long ago that I can't tell you, like the exact words or the exact conversation at the exact time and place, because it's like we had a lot of conversations. I mean, we talked every single day. So it's like I'm trying to help you guys with the stuff like the stuff that's more current. I can give you guys a lot more like detail and exact times. But when you're asking me about something that happened 6 weeks ago and exactly what was said, it's like, I mean, I'm sure I can give you a general idea, but to be honest with you, like to pinpoint exact words, it's not gonna happen.
I'm not looking for exact words. Just more, let's say 6 weeks ago he said something that triggered with you last night. That's what I'd be looking for. Or something 4 weeks ago. And if you don't remember where it was or the specific words, that doesn't matter. Just he said something that was off the wall, or he said this or he said that has caused you a moment to pause and you go.
So wait, is she saying that he did say things off the wall, but she just can't remember what day or what words were used?
I wonder why he said that. Now, knowing what you know today. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I completely understand. And to be honest with you, I mean, there were several discussions that we had about his current relationship and where it had gone and what it had caused. And he talked about his kids from time to time, but the thing was, is he was never hostile. It was never anything aggressive. Like, even when he spoke of his wife and the fact that they were separating, it was never, like, ill. It was still very kind. It was just like, this is not working, you know, and would explain why, but it wasn't anything out of the ordinary or anything that I think would scare me. And to this day, even after everything that I found out, I still look back at that and I don't see any red lights with the way that he spoke of his family.
He claims there was only one affair, but even a single secret can burn everything to the ground.
It seems then that it would have had to been a pretty quick transition from two people talking to this.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was like, I don't want to, like, I don't think with the last things we were talking about, but it was, you know, like, I love you anymore, and then she's like, you're never gonna see the kids.
Oh,
But
that's perfect, Chris. That's exactly what we need. Okay. And I know it's hard to walk through that again, but that's exactly it. So then, as soon as she started talking like that, then it was on. Okay.
But it was you saying that you didn't love her, is that right? Okay.
And her saying, you're never going to see the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. I can imagine how that made you feel. Sorry.
it didn't warrant what it did.
Yeah. And then the fact that she didn't scratch at you or anything, is that just because it was so powerful?
I don't think it, I mean, it didn't feel like, I've never done that before, put my hands on anybody before, so I don't even know what kind of force I was putting on her neck.
Okay.
Like I said, 2 to 4 minutes, I don't know if that was 2 to 4 minutes.
Did you cover her face at all during that time?
Both hands on the neck. Okay. And so, if it's done right, I mean, that can be a matter of seconds before someone on their carotid loses oxygen to their brain and it's out, right? Did it seem like it was that quick, or? Okay. Maybe a minute, maybe 2? Okay. Screaming? Okay. All right. Did you see eyes go bloodshot or anything like that? Okay. Okay. And
You
then,
kept talking about the mascara. Did you see mascara on her face?
That's what it looked like. It was like, that's why I figured it too.
Was she crying? Is that why? At what point did she start crying?
When I'm talking about the relationship about not being compatible. And when she's talking about there's somebody else, that's where she started crying. That's where I thought, it was mascara. I didn't know if it was it.
On the outside, the Watts family was thriving, but inside, they were drowning. Shanann sensed something. She confronted him, she cried. She flew to her parents' house in North Carolina and stayed there for like 5 weeks. Chris, with the girls, by the way, Chris was now pretty distant and cold and began plotting his way out, obviously, a way that didn't involve confrontation because he hated that, and a way that ended in silence because he didn't like noise. And it started with a fairy tale and ended in a nightmare. He showed up for her. He cooked for her. He held her hand. He told her he was, he told her she was his rock. By the time their second daughter was born, things really shifted. Bills were piling up. Chris grew more distant, and Shanann, ever the fighter, tried harder. She organized, she documented everything, every milestone, every lunch note, every smile she could capture, as if she could hold the family together with sheer force of will. What I find intriguing is Chris's reaction to finding out that they were having their third baby. Bearing in mind, Chris is finding this out just as he's beginning to talk to Nicole. And that's when he finds out that they're expecting again. So he's probably feeling a lot of different emotion about that. But Chris was drifting. He started working out more, staying late at work, becoming more withdrawn at home. The man who used to write cards with hearts now answered questions with shrugs. In text messages, Shanann confided in her friends and she felt him pulling away. She was exhausted. She was suspicious, hurt. Her lupus flared under the stress. She tried everything to save their marriage. Couples trips, romantic getaways, love letters. Look at these love letters that she was writing. Chris just needed to meet her halfway. In the summer of 2018, she took the girls to North Carolina to stay with her parents. Chris stayed behind for work. She thought some space might help, and it was during this trip that she saw it, the full, icy truth. Chris wasn't just distant. He was someone else completely. He ignored her messages. He dodged her calls. She would say, I miss you. I don't know how we fell out of compatibility. But he wouldn't answer. She called him cold, robotic, like a stranger. She begged for honesty. She feared he was cheating, but she couldn't prove it. Meanwhile, Chris was telling Nicole Kessinger he was finalizing a divorce with her. Back home, Shanann tried to keep up appearances, but the glow, it was gone. The perfect family, all gone. August the 9th, just 4 days before her death, she writes this heartbreaking letter to Chris. Never sent it, never answered. Saying things like, you've changed so much, I miss the Chris I used to know. I can't fix what I don't know. You make me feel like a ghost in my own house. I can't lose you. I won't lose you without a fight. I will fight for your love, fight for us. I can't imagine life without you. Scares me to death every day you go to work or we are apart, flying away. I will do anything, always, for you, us. And then she even goes on to say, my dearest Chris, I don't know where to begin. I'm lost for words. I can't even explain how hard this is, how hard this pain hurts. The last 5 weeks have been so hard. I missed everything about you. I missed your morning breath, our touch, your lips against mine. I missed everything about you. I missed your morning breath. I missed everything about you. I missed holding you. I missed smelling you in the sheets. I missed talking to you in person. I missed watching you laugh and play with the kids. I love seeing their smile with you. I missed seeing you naked and on top of me making love. Oh my God, I missed having you around when I felt alone and upset. I just flat out missed the hell out of you. This is all the things that she's written in July while she was at her parents' place and he was having an affair. And she wrote all of this down to give to him when she got back, and it was only a few days before she died, where she's written, I don't know how we've fallen out of compatibility. I can't change what happened with my parents. I will work with you and them to work things out. There has to be mutual respect from all parties. An apology from your mum personally would be nice. Our daughters, life can't be replaced. Now, the thing is, there was an incident with some pistachio nuts, and his parents and their daughter who's allergic to them, and they thought that maybe this is why, that it could be fixed. She thought it was all about that, but Chris wasn't looking for a solution about that. He was crafting an exit because he was seeing Nicole, and it didn't include her. Being away from you is not the help I missed because I handle that. It was exhausting, but with school, that's not hard. I miss the smell of you. You touching me when I'm cooking, you touching me in bed, you touching me, period. I missed holding you and snuggling with you. I missed eating with you, watching TV with you. I missed staring at you. I missed making love with you. I missed everything about you. I couldn't wait to touch you, hold you, kiss you, make love to you, smell you, laugh with you. I couldn't wait to celebrate 8 years with you. If you're done, don't love me, don't want to work this out, not happy anymore, and only staying because of kids, I need you to tell me. She loved this man. She was desperately in love with this man. Shanann would say that there was nothing wrong in their relationship like this prior to this 5-week period. She even goes to ask him in a text, would you stay with me if we didn't have kids? Like, Shanann even said, I just don't get it. You don't fall out of love in 5 weeks. And then minutes later, she pondered, how can you sleep? Our marriage is crumbling in front of us and you can sleep. So while trying to give her husband the benefit of the doubt, Shanann theorized that Chris must have been upset about a rift between her and his family. She and the girls had visited Chris's parents early in her North Carolina trip. Chris's mother, Cindy Watts, she bought pistachio ice cream for the visit. And according to the 2019 interview between Chris and the investigators obtained by Oxygen.com, Celeste was allergic to nuts, which prompted Shanann to yell at Cindy about the ice cream choice. She felt her mother-in-law hadn't been taking Celeste's allergy seriously. In turn, Cindy kicked Shanann out of the house, and Shanann stopped talking to Chris's family completely. So that happened. I guess that could have been part of the things that were boiling up inside of Chris, because a good portion of the drafted letters focus on that family feud, and it's clear that Shanann assumes this is what is at the heart of the couple's crumbling marriage. She doesn't understand what she's done, Popplewell told Oxygen.com. She thinks it's because she's fallen out with his family. She's making offers to make it work with his mum. A different draft of the letter portrays that desperation, where Shanann, who Popplewell feels has been unfairly criticized as being bossy or overbearing due to her assertive nature, vows to do whatever it takes to save the relationship. It's also apparent from the letter that Chris had already told her that he felt they were no longer compatible. So he's having this conversation with her over this 5-week period. So he's leaving, and her confidence was shattered. So Chris is now super distant and cold, begins plotting his way out. He said the idea of separating scared him. He didn't want to deal with courts, with child support, with conflict. He didn't want noise. So he chose silence.
About, there was all of these things playing in your mind where you just didn't even want to go another second without having this conversation or without some sort of completion, right? Mm-hmm. And then so you come back, she's asleep, and then you just kind of nudge her?
Yeah, I just kind of like, hey, look up for a second.
And was there nudge talk for 20 minutes, or was it a nudge and then all of a sudden you're on top of her?
No, it's pretty much on top.
Okay, so that happened pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's how we kind of pretty much talked. Okay. I was just right there.
And was there talking?
Yeah.
Okay, and so a nudge, a talk, she's laying down and you're standing up?
I crawled back, I got on my side of the bed.
Uh-huh.
And I just nudged her like that.
Oh, okay. And then you're talking while you're on top of her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That seems confusing to me. Is that actually what happened? Okay. And so
Is she was fine, like just laying there and you trying to talk to her while you're up
She maybe I thought we were going to have sex together or something.
Oh, okay. Okay. And how long did you talk?
About 15, 20 minutes.
Really? In that position? Okay. And was there any sex?
No.
Okay.
Maybe I'm basically from the position that we're in. Maybe she thought maybe I'd try to go again. I don't know.
Okay. And I don't harp on it too much, but I'm just trying to think, if my wife's 4 months pregnant and it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I want to talk and I want to get on top of her, that's just not going to fly. So that's why I'm confused. So, is that really what happened? Okay. And then talk for about 15 minutes and then it's heated and then your hands are on her neck. Okay. All right.
What did the talk of?
Basically, it just not how. Well, at first, it was more of like the selling the house type of thing, or not going to Aspen, or trying to maybe go in at a different time, and then it just switched all to the. I don't feel like I'm in love with you anymore. Not compatible. Went with that, and that's when I got to the heated part of it.
Okay. Did she ever say at some point get off of me or anything like that?
At the end,
And
that's what she said. I don't want you to feel like, because where I was, it was kind of like she didn't want me to like to, sit down or like hurt the baby or anything.
Did she accuse you of cheating at that point?
Mm-hmm.
So what'd she say?
Like I knew there was somebody else. I knew there was somebody else. I didn't come out to say, that there is somebody else, but she obviously already knew.
Then your response to that was what? Did she say no, there's not? Deny it?
Maybe I just denied it, but at that point, so that always, because when she would accuse me at the beach, it was a lot of like, there's nobody else, there's nobody else, or like, and when we got back home, she always like said there's got to be somebody else, because she'd always talk to her friends like Christina or somebody on text messaging, and they'd always say there's got to be somebody else. If he's not wanting to sleep with you, like he's getting it from somewhere else. There's nowhere else. I mean, she couldn't really say I would get anywhere else because I was using those Antarctica gift cards, so it's kind of like, she just me getting distant, but she knew, and that's mainly the reason why I talked to her, because I knew, like, after that night, it was just like, it felt like I just felt guilty, more guilty than ever before.
Yeah. And then it seems to me, and sorry, a lot of thoughts here. So we know what happened and we can talk about it today kind of openly. And that's what we need from you, is to just kind of say, I know it sounds bad, or I know this, or I know I feel this way, but physically this is exactly what happened. So if you could tell us that, it seems then that it would have had to been a pretty quick transition from two people talking to this.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what happened?
Yeah, it was like, I don't want to, like, trying to think of the last things we were talking about, but it was, like, I love you anymore, and then she was like, you're never going to see the kiss.
Oh, that's perfect, Chris. That's exactly what we need. Okay. And I know it's hard to walk through that again, but that's exactly it. So then, as soon as she started talking like that, then it was on. Okay.
But it was you saying that you didn't love her, is that right? Okay.
And her saying you're never going to see the kids. Yeah. Okay. I can imagine how that made you feel. Sorry.
It didn't warrant what it did.
Yeah. And then the fact that she didn't scratch at you or anything, is that just because it was so powerful?
I don't think it didn't feel like, I've never done that before, put my hands on anybody before, so I don't even know what kind of force I was putting on her neck.
Okay.
Like I said, 2 to 4 minutes, I don't know if that was true.
Did you cover her face at all during that time?
Both hands on the neck. Okay. And so, if it's done right, I mean, that can be a matter of seconds before someone on their carotid loses oxygen to their brain and it's out, right? Did it seem like it was that quick, or? Okay. Maybe a minute, maybe 2? Okay. Screaming? Okay. All right. Did you see eyes go bloodshot or anything like that? Okay. Okay. And
You kept talking about the mascara. Did you see mascara on her face?
Yes, it looked like it was like, that's why I attributed it to.
Was she crying? Is that why? At what point did she start crying?
When I'm talking about the relationship about not being compatible. And when she's talking about there's somebody else, that's where she started crying.
It started like any other morning. Shanann came home from the weekend work trip with her friends in her MLM. That's really hard to say. The girls were asleep. It's 2 a.m. Shanann is finally in bed. She's restless after weeks of no intimacy with Chris. So she begins, rubbing on him, almost as a test to see if he'll respond. Ultimately, he does. They make love for the last time. But how does it go from making love to murder? From that soul connection to strangulation? Did Chris snap? Was the intimacy real? Or did an argument spark a brutal attack? Some people believe that he drugged Shanann before strangling her because she was feisty, right? And her family insists that there would be injuries on Chris if she'd fought back. And I guess the only person that can tell us the truth is gone now. But if I had to guess, just my opinion, Shanann had been away with the girls the entire month of July. Chris at Nicole's house every night, eating dinner, sleeping over there, waking up in a new reality. Nicole's world was so intoxicating, carefree, unstructured, free from the weight of the obligation of his world. And by August, reality was creeping back in. Shanann was returning home. The spell was breaking. Chris started to panic. He didn't want to go back. And so in his mind, he found a solution. All right, let this sink in. He'd only been seeing this woman for a month. 1 month. And it was so intoxicating that he was planning to erase his entire life. Chris says, I feel like it was controlling me. I had no control of it. And it's funny, at some point he even Googled a song from Metallica called Garbage or something, and it says, lunacy has found me, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family. Oh, Battery. It's called Battery, which is a really weird song to Google. Anyway, Chris later claimed that he woke up the day and he had already decided it was over. He just felt like, today is the day I've got to end it. Whether he meant end it, or just end the relationship. So he goes downstairs, he gets his breakfast, he gets dressed, climbs into bed with Shanann and tells her, look, I don't think this is working anymore. I don't love you anymore. I don't think we're compatible. She's just waking up, right? She's just rubbing her eyes. She's waking up. She's like, what are you talking about? We just had sex. I thought everything was great. I thought we were getting back on track. She's like rolling over, rubbing her eyes. He then straddles her and says, I don't love you. And she says, get off me. I knew there was someone else. And he's like, yes, there is. And she just screams, and you're never seeing the kids again. Get off me. You're never going to see the kids again. I knew there was someone else. And that's when he snaps. In that moment, he straddles her. He loses control. He puts his hands around his throat and squeezed. Now, he claims they argued for like 30 minutes before he unalived her. And why was he on top of her before she even said those final words? He said he'd gotten on the bed from his side and was laying next to Shanann. And then as they were speaking and talking and arguing, he starts to get on top of her, straddling her. And she's saying, don't hurt the baby. And he says to police, this was a common way for them to talk in bed, especially if getting busy was on the cards. And he thought maybe that's why she was okay with it at first, because she thought they were going to, make love again. And he told police it felt like something had been planted in his brain. Again, the whole I don't have control. And then he just did it. 4 minutes. 4 minutes of strangling. 4 minutes is an eternity when you're fighting for air. And yet he insists she didn't fight back, which makes some believe she was drugged. Her family certainly does. So after it's done, little Bella walks in. What's wrong with Mummy? She's looking around. Chris is wrapping his wife up in a sheet. He pulls her down off the bed and starts taking her downstairs. He loads the girls into the truck with Shanann at their feet. Let that sit. So he grabs his lunch. He gets in the car. He's got his girls in the back. He drives to the oil site. 45-minute drive with his daughters. No car seats, just loose on the back seat, and their dead mother at their feet. At some point, Bella says, "Daddy, it smells." Chris had wrapped Shanann in a sheet because her body had evacuated itself, right? So that's what's happening right now. So he pulls over, he parks, he pulls Shanann's body from the car, he lays her down in the dirt where he will later bury her, and then he murders them too. Right there on the back seat of his truck. Like I said, the girls weren't in their seats, their car seats. They were just huddling together on the back seat, on the bench, back seat. First, he decides Cece's first. He puts her blue blanket over her head, and then he puts his hand over her mouth and his hand around her neck and strangles and suffocates her while Bella watches. And then he wraps her up and takes her up to the top of the oil tanks and drops her into 8-inch hatch while Bella watches him do this. He has to walk a fair way up the stairs, and then he comes back down, and then Bella. She knew. She says, "Daddy, what happened to Cece? Is the exact same thing going to happen to me?" Her last words were, "Daddy, no." Listen to how Chris talks about this part in his police interview.
About the girls too, okay? All right, thank you. So with the girls, talked about how they got into the truck with you and were alive. Okay. Are you 100% sure that's true? Okay.
Can we go back just a second? You talked about before that Bella walked in, though, to the bedroom. Can you tell us about that before you left?
Yeah, I was just getting the sheet off the bed, and she had walked in. And she had her little pink blanket with her. She's like, what's wrong? What's wrong, Mommy?
And where was Shanann at that point?
Yeah, just pretty much on the bed, but she was face down.
Wrapped in the sheet? What'd you say?
It's like, she didn't feel good. That's when I started to carry her downstairs.
Shanann?
Did you carry her like this? Did you drag her? How did you do it?
Tempted to pick her up and take her down, but I lost grip after a little while. I just had to pull.
Did Bella see you do that? What was Bella saying?
She started crying a little bit. She's like, "What's wrong, Mom?"
Well, what'd you say that time?
It's just feel good. She's a smart girl. She know what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. Did she ever touch Shanann? Try and wake her up or anything? No.
She didn't want to see her or ask to see her or anything. And so that initial time, did she see you put Shanann in the truck? So she was kind of following you? Okay. So she followed you and you put Shanann in the truck. Yeah. And then what?
Cece wasn't up yet. Right? She was just in her room. She was getting ready to get out of her bed. And then they were just walking around the house. Put my lunchbox and stuff in the truck, and then grab the kids and put them in the bench sheet in the back.
Okay. So Shanann, is she kind of on the floor in the back? And they're just on the bench. Okay. And both alive at that point. Okay. Is there any reason you would feel uncomfortable to tell me that they were not alive at that point?
Okay. It wasn't a video or anything?
It's hard to see. Okay. And I believe you. I'm just, I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving you all the opportunities to be comfortable enough to tell me exactly. Okay.
They were alive.
Okay.
Trust me, I hear that every day when Bella was talking to me on the site.
Oh, really? What do you mean?
When she said, Daddy, no. When we were driving to the site, she said, Daddy, it smells.
Oh, okay. So that goes back to maybe Shanann evacuating herself.
I don't know if it was that. They know that smell like a skunk maybe sometimes.
Oh,
That's what I got some kind of smell that way, but I don't know what that was from.
and was that maybe outside the truck or is that in?
I don't know.
Okay. What did you guys talk about on the way out?
They were pretty quiet. They, laid next to each other.
Okay.
Maybe Bella in her lap and Cece in her lap, just back and forth.
Oh, okay. Just trading off like little ones do. Okay. Were they awake?
I think one would kind of fall asleep probably. Cece would really kind of trade off back and forth.
Were they talking to you?
Just about, just saying, Daddy, it smells.
Oh, okay.
It was early in the morning. They were showing up there.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have to? So you didn't have to wake Cece up?
There was the noise from trying to get Shanann downstairs.
Did she kind of fall down the stairs?
It was more like trying to get her down and from the steps, maybe her foot, the next step kind of thing.
Oh,
They're licensed.
So then, once you get to the site, tell me what happens.
So I get to that one site and I get Shanann out to that. Just pull her over to the part right off the site there.
Okay.
And the girls are still in the truck.
Okay.
did they ask you what you were doing, taking mommy out, or?
Yeah, I don't remember what I told them, but they did ask them.
What they say specifically?
It was more of like, what are you doing to mommy?
Okay. And then is that when you buried her?
I don't remember if I dug a hole there first but they didn't watch me do that.
Oh. So then pulled Shanann out. She's maybe just sitting there on top of the ground.
Yeah, like off to the side.
Off to the side, close to where she ended up.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And then the girls, right? Okay. You mentioned Bella was first. Cece was first. Okay. Where exactly was she when it happened?
In the back seat.
Okay. Was she just right next to Bella?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So once again, was it a hand over her face? Was it?
It was a blanket over my hand.
And then your hand. Okay. And then so that just stopped her from breathing type thing? Okay. Did she struggle at all?
I don't think so, but I was blocking her face and my hand was right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You had one hand here and one hand over her mouth?
And we're just pushing her against the back of the seat type thing? Okay. What was Bella doing?
Sitting there next to her, she didn't know what was going on.
Okay. Could she see you? Okay. And then, did that take a minute or two?
And really, nothing. I didn't have no concept at the time at this point.
Okay. Tell me about what you were thinking.
I was thinking it's what would happen.
Yeah.
But any partial hint of what I feel for those girls and what I feel for my wife, but none of this would have happened. So I wasn't thinking.
Okay. So she's in the back seat. Okay. And then once she's gone, then is it Bella next, or did you pull Cece out?
I pulled Cece out.
Okay, so once Cece's gone, Bella's still there in the car alive, and then you pulled Cece out. What'd you do with her? Okay. So she went into the tank, and Bella was still in the back of the truck alive. With regard to that tank, did you bring up Cece, put her down, open the hatch?
Brought her up, opened the hatch.
And put her in. Okay. When we talked the very first time we met, when we were talking about this, it was a matter of just lowering her down. Okay. And so she went in feet first. Okay. Was she able to fit pretty well? Was it snug?
I think so.
Okay. Did you have to like move her around a little bit and get her in there?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
But no, I didn't have to like, hit her like,
Okay.
like that.
It's not like you stomped her in.
No.
Okay. And then close the hatch.
Yes.
Okay. And then went down to Bella. Tell me what happened there.
She said what happened to Cece. Or she asked, is the same thing, the exact same thing that happened to me as Cece.
Did she ask you that? Okay. So Bella's pretty smart. How did she sound when she asked you that, Chris?
Said that soft voice she always had.
What exactly did she say?
Said that it's the same thing that happened to me as Cece. And then I said, I don't even remember what I said. I don't know if I just said yes, like a horrible person, or if I just put that blanket over her too and did the same thing.
Same blanket, same way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She said, no, Daddy. And that's the next thing she said.
Did she say no, Daddy, like, please, no, Daddy type thing? Did she say, okay, don't do it?
She said, no, Daddy.
Okay. Same way, hand on neck, hand over mouth, or hand over blanket with the double mouth? Okay. Did that take a couple minutes?
I like it.
Okay. Then what?
I just noticed she had a couple spots like over her eye or something, and I picked her up. Same thing.
And we talked a little bit earlier today about it. You don't remember why a different tank? Okay. And there wasn't no reason?
I mean, they're both the same tanks. I mean, they're just like, I don't know why I did two different things.
There's one, I never got up there. Does one catwalk lead to both?
Oil can go into either tank.
Okay. But if you go up one set of ladders, does that eventually indicate you?
It's one catwalk.
Okay. Now, Bella was a little bit bigger. Was she harder to get in?
It felt like a little bit.
Okay. And so was it a matter of just kind of maneuvering her? All right. So then they're both in there. Is there any reason to think they were alive when they fell in? Okay. You're pretty sure. Okay. So once that's done, then what?
Go over to Shanann. Clear away some weeds and dig a hole.
Okay. Did you have a shovel?
Yeah, we have a shovel, a rake, and a weed whacker as part of our tools.
With that rake, if I remember right, it was
part of it sitting there because it was broken.
Oh, did it break as you were digging or something?
No, when I was like smoothing the ground over.
On this day, it broke when you were doing that. Okay. Was that after you were all done? And it seemed as though maybe the first people that got there saw it was stuck in the ground.
I guess it was like not like standing up, but like laying down.
Oh, okay.
I cannot even begin to imagine the fear, the kind of fear that Bella was feeling in that moment. It hurts my heart every time I think about it. She bit her tongue. She fought back. Her frenulum was missing. He put her in the oil tank, and then he buried Shanann in a shallow grave nearby. She was still dressed, still wearing her bra, which raises even more questions because wouldn't she have removed that? And then he texts his co-workers like it's just another Monday. Chris Watts, he erased his life, his children, he erased his wife, he erased his unborn son, and for what? Fantasy? A month of illusion? A hollow escape from a life he would never have? And he never had the guts to confront anyone about how he felt. He'd rather kill them than allow them to have a life. Because he wanted silence, he didn't want arguments. He did interviews, pleaded for their return, smiled nervously, hugged neighbours. But he was flat, emotionless, a man who had deleted his family like a bad photo. He blinked too slowly. His arms hung stiff by his sides. He shifted uncomfortably in his own skin. He delivered his words like lines he'd rehearsed in the mirror. So to the media, he was the grieving husband, the father with hopeful eyes and this really soft voice that could do no wrong. And he was handsome, which tends to go away and, a long way. And to those who knew him, it just kind of looked wrong. Body language experts later dissected every breath, every word from his press conference and media interviews. What they found was so chilling. No panic, no urgency, no real fear, just calculated awkwardness of someone trying to remember which mask he was supposed to wear that day. He would say, I just want them to come home, while swaying side to side like a nervous child caught in a lie. When a kid sways side to side and they're lying, like that. Because his eyes were dry. His tone was hollow. His neighbors even noticed. One of them said to the police, something's off. He's not acting right. So Chris states in his police interview from prison that he never showed emotion. He grew up never showing emotion ever, like his dad. His mum wasn't really nurturing. His sister was said to be more of a parent to him, but even then he still didn't really show emotion. And then the detective asks him, do you think this happened because of all the years of bottling up everything that's ever happened to you in your whole life? And Chris just sits there for a minute and he's like, yes. And it's a chilling thing to admit that you were never taught to feel, never encouraged to cry, never allowed to be angry or seen. Psychologists have speculated that Chris may exhibit traits of covert narcissists or even sociopathy, not in a classic villainous sense, but in an insidious sense, who mimics emotion rather than feels it, he rehearses it so he's normal and he can blend in. But he doesn't. He lacked empathy, not just in the moment, but his whole life. People were obligations, feelings were threats, and control was everything to him. And it didn't take long. The inconsistencies in his story, Nicole Kessinger came forward, the polygraph failed, his mask cracked. They're gone. I snapped, he confessed. I'm sorry, but that would have taken 10 minutes. He wasn't downstairs for 10 minutes. We now know that this is all lies, that this was put into his head by the police when they were interviewing him and asked him, did she hurt the girls? Is that why you did what you've done? So if he didn't have that information put into his head, then he would never have said this, and he states this in a prison interview later on. But the way that he tries to sully her name after she has passed away from what he's done just boils my blood. He even goes as far as to say that that Shanann hurt the girls, and then so he and then had to hurt her. But as we know, that was never the case. You know, Shanann loved her girls. And he said the reason why he said that was because the detective had suggested that to him, and he just went with it because he thought, oh, well, that's actually a good thing to say. That'll get me off the hook. But Chris, he was a time bomb waiting to be detonated. And he had been waiting a long time to detonate. And when he did, oh boy, did he detonate. He was normal to everybody. He was a father, he was a husband, he was a man who looked you in the eye and smiled as he planned your death. But why? Why not divorce? Why not walk away? Clearly, Chris had self-esteem issues. As he puts it, Nicole paid him attention, and that's all it took for his head to swivel. Chris needed attention and yet hated attention at the same time, showing traits of both his mother and his father's personalities, which would probably be confusing to live with, not only for yourself, but as a partner. And I noticed in a lot of these interviews that he did that he hints to the fact that he could have been an abused husband, like a coercively controlled husband. Like he says things like, I can relate to those abusive situations, but maybe I'm just used to it, or I just go with the flow with things, so it might be happening to me, but I actually wouldn't know. You hear him say that in one of the audios. What gets me to my core is the statement he makes to police in his prison interview. He says, almost asking, you know, the whole 45-minute drive out there, you know, to the oil site where he ultimately ends their lives. He says, looking back, thinking to myself, could I have saved my girl's life? But I couldn't stop. I wasn't in control. I was so angry at Shanann. I was in a rage. And that's like the first time that I've really heard him say that he was in a rage, because in all of his interviews and every recount of the timeline, he plays down every scene. Like this all happened really quietly and easily, like nobody made a sound. He says over and over that Shanann didn't fight back, didn't struggle, just looked at him and allowed him to unalive her. I'm sorry, but that's just simply not true. Like a person cannot physically stop themselves from being, you know, from struggling, from, you know, when you're being deprived of air from your lungs, you're going to struggle. And Shanann even evacuated herself, which indicates extreme fear and stress on the body. So, you know, he states that his girls made no noise on the drive out there. They made no noise, no fuss, while he put blankets over their heads and hands over their mouth for an amount of minutes. However, autopsy results revealed that Bella had bitten her tongue repeatedly, and the skin between her lip and her gum was like there was a hole, and it was torn away from the struggle. It was just gone. It was gone. And he's like making it quiet in his mind, like the memories make it quiet. And I'm guessing he's doing that so that he can sleep at night, because the truth is so horrific. Maybe he can't live with that. So he changes the narrative in his head that it was all, everybody was going along with it. Everyone was quiet. I just don't know why not divorce. Why not talk about it? Why not walk away? Because he didn't want confrontation. He didn't want noise. He wanted a clean slate, and so he erased them. Look at Bella. She loved singing. She protected her sister. Cece was wild, loud, fierce. Bella was just 4 years old, thoughtful, soft voice, and full of quiet magic. She loved to sing and had an unshakable bond with her little sister. She was always the first to comfort people, the first to notice when someone was sad. Her voice still echoes online in heartbreaking videos singing, "My daddy is my hero."
He is a hero. He helped me grow up strong. He helped me go true. He reads me books. He ties my shoes. You're a hero. Blue and blue. My daddy, I love you. Oh,
I'm sorry, that gets me every time. Celeste, lovingly called Cece, she was just 3. She was such a little whirlwind of personality. She had bright eyes, a contagious laugh, and fearlessness. That filled all the rooms that she entered. She didn't tiptoe through life. She was a charger. She charged into life like her mum. They were different, but they were each other's worlds. Their mother posted videos of them dancing in princess dresses, singing lullabies and giggling in the back seat through their bedtime routines. Those moments were real, tiny capsules of childhood innocence that now feel frozen in time. That haunts. Not just that he killed them, that he knew them. He tucked them into their bed every night. He kissed their scrapes. He watched them dance, heard their secrets. He knew their favorite snacks. He knew their favorite songs. He knew their favorite colors. He was their everything, and he chose to silence them forever. Chris is currently serving a 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. He now claims to have found God from prison. He's written disturbing letters, often going between remorse and justification. His former cellmate published a book suggesting Nicole Kessinger may have had direct involvement. An accusation still debated, never proven. Nicole Kessinger, she has vanished. She's changed her name. She's disappeared from public view. Digital trail was scrubbed, but her name lives on in every comment section. Shanann's family still fighting to share her story. They continue to post tributes on Facebook, raise awareness, and protect the legacies of Bella and Cece and unborn baby Nico. Bella, Cece, and their little brother Nico never got to tell their story, so we tell it now, and we'll keep telling it until silence can no longer hide the monsters behind the smiles. Some monsters don't growl, they smile at you in the night, and that was the story of a man who seemed perfect until the silence screamed louder than anything else. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What part of this story stuck with you the most? For me, it was the girls in the back seat. That haunts me. And so thank you for listening to Dark Milk and Lullabies. Until next time, hold your loved ones tight and don't forget to look beneath the smile.